The optics of Donald Trump's bloodied face, his fist held high in defiance, spoke more than any words could and have become images that will go down in American history. That volley of shots ringing out with a bullet grazing the ear of the former US president after a gunman opened fire at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. Mr. Trump said he felt the bullet as it ripped through his ear. But both Mr. Trump and President Biden are trying to dial down the rhetoric after Saturday's failed assassination attempt. President Biden told Americans that people needed to lower the political temperature and stand together. And Donald Trump told a newspaper that he'd completely rewritten his speech to call for national unity instead of targeting President Biden's policies. Mr. Trump is now in Milwaukee, as scheduled for the Republican National Convention. The FBI has said the suspected gunman was acting alone and used a legally purchased AR-style rifle. The semi-automatic weapon was recovered after the 20-year-old, named as Thomas Matthew Crooks, was shot dead at the scene. The Bureau said it was investigating the shooting as a potential act of terrorism, though the gunman's motive was still unclear. What is clear is that for many observers around the world, the once green belt of America's democracy has turned into a bleak, barren tract of political violence, polarization, and division. So how do we vector the anger and the wrath?
While we cannot discuss the specifics, means, and methods used for our protective operations, our protective methodology for NSSEs is based on a layered approach that includes support from federal, state, and local law enforcement and public safety partners. We will continue to assess the security environment and adapt our security measures as appropriate. The Secret Service is working diligently with the Milwaukee Police Department, as well as all of our federal, state, and local partners to ensure a safe and secure convention for attendees, volunteers, and the city of Milwaukee. This is a national special security event. That designation is the highest level of security designation that the federal government can determine. So we are confident in these security plans that are in place for this event, and we're ready to go. It's been an 18-month process. We've worked together over that 18 months to develop operational security plans for any and all aspects of security related to this event.
But did it change within the last, and any change been made in the last 24 hours?
We're not anticipating any changes to our operational security plans for this event.
I know that people have those questions in light of what happened on Saturday in Pennsylvania, the, again, horrific attack at Mr. Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. What I can tell you is that the designation that we have here in the city of Milwaukee for this convention is a national special security event. It is the highest designation that our federal government provides for an event of this caliber, of this magnitude. So I feel pretty confident in what we've worked to establish in terms of public safety for this event over the course of the last 18 months, working with the Secret Service, working with the FBI, working with the Milwaukee Police Department, Milwaukee Fire Department, other law enforcement agencies, not just here in southeastern Wisconsin, all across our state, and really all across the country that are coming here to make sure that this is a safe event for everybody.
Well, later I'll be joined from Washington by the U.S. military analyst Doug Brooks, founder of the security outfit, the International Stability Operations Association. And in a moment, I'll be joined in the studio by the international security analyst and former U.S. Army Captain Bish Johnson, and by the world affairs analyst and former commissioner in Delta State, Kenny Okolubo. But first, I'm joined now on the line from Washington by Ambassador Earl Anthony Wayne, who served as a U.S. diplomat from 1975 to 2015 and was Assistant Secretary of State under 3 U.S. Secretaries of State. Ambassador, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We're very grateful to you for taking the time to talk to us. Before I get your reaction generally to that big story that's dominating the headlines globally, and that is, of course, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, we're just hearing from the Milwaukee event that Mr. Trump has chosen Senator J.D. Vance from Ohio as his running mate. Well, what's your reaction to that?
Well, J.D. Vance has been very, very outspoken. He has been one of the 3 candidates that people have mentioned for this position. He is gotten a lot of attention since being elected. Before he became a politician, he wrote a book that was very popular about the anxieties and the upsetness of a big segment of the American population, many of whom are now supporting Donald Trump. So he will certainly be a lively running mate for Donald Trump.
Well, we'll obviously watch his progress through this nettlesome presidential campaign, because that's clearly what it's going to be. But of course, the big story still remains that assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And I wonder what your reaction to it and how you came to hear about it.
Well, I think I saw the news flash very quickly and went and looked at what was available to hear about this. He was at a rally in Pennsylvania. It's very, very fortunate that the bullet missed him. You can see a picture they took that shows the bullet going by. You can see a trace of the bullet. It is, of course, very sad that people would turn to violence to try to silence or eliminate their opponents, rather than having a debate about the issues and the individuals, and lowering the temperature. And of course, that's what both President Biden and former President Trump have been trying to signal in their messages since this took place. It is true that the level of rhetoric from both sides had gone up significantly, and I think it's very welcome that there is a call for lowering the tone, for tempering the kind of calls that might lead some people to seek violent action. That is not what we need in our democracy.
Well, you are, of course, in America yourself, at the very heart of the country, which is the Washington area. I mean, are we likely to see many voices trying to use this to stoke division, even though leaders across the divide, as you mentioned there, are stepping up to condemn the violence and this attempted assassination?
Very sadly, I think there will be those who continue to raise themes that heighten the sense of polarization. Some of that is just going to continue because we have a campaign going on where the divisions are pretty stark, and both sides are accusing the other side of ill intentions and bad plans and having things in their agendas that would be terrible for the country. And so I very much hope that we can have a number of people trying to keep focused on the policy differences and the different options for enacting policies in a new administration. But I think we've had a lot of a taste of this more polarizing language, especially on social media. And so I think we'll have to keep doing our best, all of us, to temper that language going forward.
And a lot of people, Ambassador, saying that this is a very dangerous period in America. I mean, is it made even more dangerous by the fact that there clearly are significant doubts and uncertainty about the well-being of the president, Joe Biden, right now? I mean, how particularly unsettling is that at the moment when you add it to this assassination attempt on Donald Trump?
I think it underscores that there are serious questions about both candidates. The question about President Biden is his ability to serve for another 4 years. The question about Donald Trump is, does he have the personality and the character to actually serve additional years? So there are very serious questions on both sides. A number of polls indicate that a clear majority of Americans would like to have another choice rather than these two candidates. But we have the candidates that we have right now going forward. President Biden has been working to make a number of public remarks to show that he is fit for office, that he is thinking clearly, cogently, and can offer good, solid guidance going forward. We will see in President Trump's speech, as you mentioned, he said he rewrote his speech for the convention, and he wants to have more of a focus on pulling people together. And so we'll look forward to hearing from him.
Yes, and in that regard, as you said, everyone looks forward to hearing what he's going to say. What do you expect now in the context of all this, particularly in regard to what will happen at that Milwaukee event, the Republican convention, and what will be said there? I mean, that's going to be so critically important, isn't it, at such an inflection moment as this?
It very much is. And in the run-up to this event, the Democrats have been focusing on a large policy document that had been prepared by a number of supporters of President Trump, laying out plans for the next administration and pointing out that a number of those ideas were quite radically conservative and would change the administration. President Trump has been trying to distance himself from that even before these most recent events. And so it will be very interesting to see what kind of rhetoric we see in Milwaukee. The changes the Republicans have made also included a softening of their language on abortion in the platform for the Republican Party. Again, with the notion of trying to reduce people's concerns and fears about what a Trump administration might be planning to do. So it will be very interesting to see what they have to say. Usually candidates get a bump up in popularity coming out of their conventions. So I think we would expect to see that with President Trump also.
And briefly, Ambassador, because we're almost out of time, is there any way in your assessment that America can come out of this as a society stronger, more democratic and less violent?
Well, I think you've exactly identified the objective that everybody should be pushing for. Maybe this will be a sort of slap in the face to people to say, come on, let's get more serious here. We have to protect our democracy. We can have differences over policies, over personalities, but this democratic system has served the United States well. And I certainly hope that is going to be a consistent theme. And I think we at least now have additional leverage to keep reminding people of that objective as we go forward.
Ambassador, I want to thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. Ambassador Earl Anthony Wayne served as a U.S. diplomat from 1975 to 2015 and was Assistant Secretary of State under 3 U.S. Secretaries of State. He was talking to me on the line there from Washington.